So, Far Cry 5. Let me start off with saying my background with the series, the company, among other things. I never played that much of the originals because I mainly played retro consoles in college. Not like Retrons, but like the actual N64. I didn't bring a PlayStation, trying to remember what else. I played a little testing. I played a little testing the games to sell on eBay. I heard the first couple were really great. I want to get Far Cry Primal because it looked pretty fun, but never ended up doing it. The game is made by Ubisoft, who made Assassin's Creed, so story isn't expected and disappointment is. I hated Assassin's Creed 3 so much in the beginning, with a VR mode, debug mode, hacking mode, or whatever, and there just wasn't really any story. Gave them that game early. You were just assassinating people, and it didn't make any sense to me. I wasn't really immersed. I get into that, why that's a bit of a problem in Far Cry 5. So there's been 5 Far Cries. Sort of reminds me of the Phantom Pain. They've been 5 Far Cries in a relatively short amount of time because it was just big, a really big blockbuster. They tried to cash in on it. It's made a lot of money. I don't know where it is in sales of all time, but I should probably look it up for the actual release. For the actual. Probably do that one and we'll get back the numbers for the first week, but I'll get back into this box office later or sales later after that comes up. Going back, it took a long time for Metal Gear Solid to get the 5 entries or official canon entries because of Kojima first off never wanting to make. It was more art, it was less commercial, it wasn't really a blockbuster. He didn't want to make a second one, not to mention a 5th one. I found Assassin's Creed Origins was a fun game. I put it on the top of the game year list last year. There was a lot of hype on its marketing of its graphics, or I don't know if it was reviewers or whatever, but like, yeah, the whole hype was about the graphics. The Xbox One X came out, so it was like really good timing. Ubisoft, Mike Matei from Sun Massacre and other people noted it's great graphics compared to on the Xbox One X compared to others, and it being a reason why you should buy that game. Ubisoft, big company, graphics, technology. It's not like art, but like commercialism, marketing. It was a good sell for that game on that console, and it worked. It really helped Microsoft and Xbox One X too. They used technology, which is admirable. They obviously did some R&D there, and that was pretty good. On to the actual game of Far Cry 5. The beginning of the grade is great, albeit there actually isn't that much gameplay. I like the personality of the marshals, but there's a problem with that, which I'll get into. Like the beginning, let's talk about the marshals a little bit. There's the sheriff. I like his mustache. He has a great voice actor. He has a great voice, great acting, so that's great. He's by the book, and he's in charge of the other guys. He tries to calm down the hothead guy, which I get into, and he seems to know the situation. And then you feel like he's guiding you to safety and giving you instructions on what to do in the beginning of the game. And he tells you what you should do on the tutorial and like stuff like that. So that's like really cool, like how they set that up very well. It didn't feel like a tutorial, even though it was a tutorial, which is always a good sign. Because the hot-headed guy, he's like the only minority, unless the girl is one too. Unless you make yourself a minority, I question that. We're gonna get into a little bit. He drives the Jeep when you try to get away, which is pretty cool. He helps you out. It's a bit of a bond from these crews. I get into a little bit about why that ends up being a problem later on in the game. There's the only female in the group. They don't really make her overtly female. She's by the book like the sheriff, but not in charge. I like the line about the cult not respecting badges. And the voice actor brings out some of that in that. I like how the hot-headed guy is a bit unpleasant. Like you're afraid he'll like make everything forced into a bad situation, but he'll help you out. So there's a little bit of depth in there. That's the interesting part of it. I don't know if it's depth and I'm just not that open-minded, or if like some of the storyline becomes a problem with like how it's like not as smooth or not. I don't know if they're being directionless or if I'm just not used to, or it's not like a clear-cut way of figuring out or interpreting who these characters are. Because like on the one hand, they're not like stereotypes. But on the other hand, they're sort of. I think they're well acted, they're well written, but like I don't think the story goes in a direction, unfortunately. But if you like characters, there's a problem with that too, which I'll get into in a moment. Here's the problem with that. Get separated from them, some people get captured, and they're not part of your team. You get these guys who you have to recruit from like saving from the rest of the cult, and they don't get much dialogue. And like their microphone, they're not as talented voice actors, you can tell, and they're not as well written, or you feel like they're only written a little bit because like you spend so much time with those guys, but you don't get to know them as well. Not like in a Firewatch or in a game like that. Also, why did they bring a rookie to take on this cult that's like the whole size of Montana, pretty much? Like that doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know, rip off the hero's journey on Star Wars, I guess. So back to the beginning. So you get away, go to this house with like the hothead dude, and then you try to fight your way out, and then eventually you get in the Jeep. I wonder if you could have not ran away in the Jeep, or you could just ran for it and not got in the Jeep. That's an interesting way of going it. There's other ways of going through the game, like just letting not putting the cuffs on them. That would have been an interesting method too. Like that's a short speed run of it and the secret ending of the game. So which is spoil like crazy like now. I probably should give a spoiler warning for that. So you go with the hot-headed guy, and you get these med kits, and that's good because like you get mechanics of the game. But on the other hand, you don't really need the med kits. Like it's a regenerating health game, unless you're in the speed run, which I don't know if that helps either. But like, med kits are pretty useless, and that's the mechanic of the game. Other mechanics have to do with like weapons and flamethrowers, different kinds of guns, shooting at different rates, different accuracies, different scopes. There's also the D-pad, which has... The D-pad itself is very weird. You have binoculars on it, you have the nade, you have directing an ally. So it's not a D-pad for like certain things, which is a little bit annoying. And circus is confusing for me. Don't know if anyone else has that problem. And they don't really tell you what to do to remind you it, unlike the med kits, which are pretty useless as I mentioned before. I'm wondering if anyone did a stealth, no gun, no melee run, and just like takedown run in the game. I doubt that because like everyone's always shooting at you and always looking at you, but we'll see. As I mentioned, you can't really do that with animals. Ken Levine wrote the script, although I didn't anticipate whether he had a max limit of words he could write or allotted amount of paper he could write the script on. I sort of thought it was a bit commercial that they decided to make the game. It's a game made by Ubisoft, a big AAA company with no deal. And one problem with this, like I liked the beginning of the game, was like dark. You had these cold people who like look like they're zombies, or like they act like they're zombies, and that set the mood pretty well. And then later on in the game, this is another nitpick I should get into, which I'll stress that earlier. I sort of thought like it was a bit commercial that they made the game look like everything was in bright lights, opposed to having like, and it's generic, like the cars. You know, they're not like sports cars or anime cars or Mad Max cars. They're just cars. And like it's weird when you're trying to sell like DLC and microtransactions and trying to get people into liking these cars, but they're just sort of dull looking. Like I don't know who would want to have microtransactions for those kinds of cars.
Come on, little help here, please.
I'm talking about commercialism, but it's a game by Ubisoft, so they made Assassin's Creed like it's all about making money.
Should have some good gear squirreled away.
Back to the characters of the game. I found it interesting how it was like, so the Colts, you don't want them to have guns, but you want the police to have guns. So it was like anti-gun control, pro-police, pro-soldier, with like the sniper you get later on, anti-religion with the Colts, anti-cult with the Colts. That's, I don't know, I didn't feel like, I felt like I got educated about what the Colts were, but I didn't feel like it educated me about real life situations were. And I don't know if that was bad direction or a rush production, or if that was what exactly was going on with that. I don't know if it was lacking directions or if it played too safe. It took risks. It changed it up. So unconventional is good. It just seemed like it was very marketable. Even though it's like made by like Ubisoft, as I mentioned before, the creators of Assassin's Creed and stuff. Maybe this is the market to. I don't know if this is marketing to Montana people or marketing propaganda against Montana. Also, like the cult leader, they made him look like he had magic powers at certain points where like certain stuff happened because he was doing stuff, and well, it sort of looked cool, but like it sort of didn't make any sense to me. At least since I haven't beaten the game yet, by the way, but like I don't know. Let's get into why I didn't do that. You have to like take over everything in the game to like unlock the final boss, and that doesn't make any sense. There's not enough bosses in the beginning. The game's 20 to 30 hours long, which is a bit short. Like they don't make the speed running in the game really fast, so that doesn't make any sense to me. I wonder. So yeah, it's made by a corporation, you know. Sometimes they think big, sometimes they think lazy. And I wonder if the game is sort of like that. I like how they spend all the time on like the team mechanics. Like you can use a cursor and point at where you can send your teammates, as I mentioned before, on the control pad. But on the other hand, and you set up the whole system of recruiting, that, animals, etc. But it's so confusing to me. Like, it's not very satisfying. Like, I remember play like MGS5 or like Final Fantasy 7 or Ni no Kuni 2, which came out around the same time. I remember play an 80-hour game or like a 1-hour game. I don't want to play like a 20 to 30-hour game. That's like the mode number of hours of the game I don't want to play. Another gripe I have about the game is the multiplayer system. You can't play the multiplayer until you unlock the beginning of the game. And you need an Ubisoft game to play the multiplayer in the game. Why should I play the game in multiplayer if they're just, or the game in period, if you're just gonna make the multiplayer so hard to play with? I don't know what I rate the game. Probably a C or a 5 out of 10. It's not the worst game in the world, and I think I had issue with the story, and I don't want to compare it with like Blade Runner 2049, when Far Cry is again a corporate product. But like, I think I need more time to figure out. Like, it's only a couple days I played it, and it's pretty much a done game. It's like weird. Like, I don't want to replay it. I don't think it's a good experience. I don't. They spent money on it. They did the team mechanics very good. Like the fishing, all that stuff you can do, recruiting, etc., which is pretty cool. But like the gameplay, the game design, it seems very repetitive. Which is why I wanted to just skip everything and just beat the game in an hour to get the final boss. There's not enough cinematics. There's not what I want from this game. I'm not a Far Cry expert. I'm not Ubisoft expert. But like, again, I like Assassin's Creed Origins, which is a much better game in my opinion. It seems a lot more fun and seems a lot more stuff to unlock. Where this game is like, you just do the same thing over and over again. You get the same cars, different color. Maybe it's a tank later. I don't know. It's very repetitive and it just seems very boring. I don't really like it. It's not a terrible game. Again, C or 5 out of 10, but like I just didn't enjoy it. What are your thoughts? Like, comment, subscribe.